Welcome, beautiful humans, to this episode of Wise Human Podcast. Today, I have with me Candace Hayden, who is one of my friends that I met in yoga teacher training a few years ago. She is probably one of the most ambitious and productive humans I know. She used to teach multiple classes a week, fitness classes. She teaches at a university. She has a full-time job. She is just on it always. And I am so happy to have you here with me today, Candace.
Oh, wow, Nicole, that's a beautiful introduction. And I love the way that you call us humans. That's so cute, so sweet.
We're all humans.
Thank you. Thank you. And thank you for inviting me.
Yeah, I appreciate you. When I put the call out at the beginning of this idea, before the podcast was even born, before it had a name, I put the call out and you were like, yeah, I'm down. I'll do it. I was like, what do you want to talk about? And you're like, I don't know. I was like, okay, cool. Let's do it and see what happens.
See what happens, because I still don't know what I want to talk about.
Perfect.
So you're in the driver's seat.
I'm in the driver's seat. Ooh, I get to full on actually interview. Ooh, I'm a little bit nervous. um, let's just dive right in. So one thing that I, struck me when you shared with me is that you were married for a while, like almost 2 decades, I believe.
2 decades plus one.
Okay, it was 2 plus 1. Okay, I was in the range.
Years.
And then that ended, and I met you after that when you kind of probably had processed it all. But I wonder if you would mind speaking on that a little bit, just for somebody in my shoes where I've never been married. I've had long-term relationships, but nothing to that commitment level, where you were married, you had a child, you raised a child together, you built a home together. What made you feel like you needed to leave? And then what made you decide it was time?
Okay. So what made me decide that it was time to leave? And I'm just going to be completely honest with you. And it's funny because my son kind of asked me that the other day, but it was under another context. And I was completely honest with him. And quite frankly, had I not left, I don't think I would be here today. And it's not because I was in an outwardly abusive relationship, but because um, uh, emotional abuse, in my opinion, I'm going to say, is probably worse than physical abuse. Neither one is acceptable, but I don't think that I would have survived emotionally. And if I was still alive, I would not be a complete person. So understanding that, and literally within the months that I was deciding to do it, I felt that it was imminent, that if I didn't do it, then I would not be alive much longer. So it became, to me, self-preservation. I finally realized that, girl, you might want to start thinking about yourself here, or there's not going to be a you. And I decided that I was more important to me than anything else, and including divorce, from the standpoint of, in my religion, divorce was looked bad upon. I was almost 50 and it wouldn't have been my first divorce. I don't know if you knew that. So it was a lot of stigmatism going on there, but I decided, and this is syndicated, so I'm not going to say the exact word that I said, but I just decided, you know what? If I'm gonna die and go to hell because I make this decision, I'm already living in hell. So what difference does it make? I'm just gonna do it. Now that sounds easy because I'm processing it after the fact, almost 7 years after the fact, because there's a lot more that went into it. But if I had to sum it up, I just finally said, you know what, I'm more important. And if anything, um, pretty much I'm damned if I do and I'm damned if I don't. If I sit here and just stay with it, what? And I kind of already know what's coming, versus I don't know what's out there, but I'm willing to take that chance versus just sitting here doing this. So that's why I did it. That's why I did it. And I believe, or at least I feel, that I am a much different person than I was 7 years ago. And it was the best decision, short of my locks. My locks were my second best decision, but it was the best decision that I could have made for myself.
Your locks look great, by the way.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. I'm curious, when you say that you would not be alive anymore, is that because of you or because of the relationship?
So it was probably a two-part. So if I can think back to that year, which was 2014, I'm not going to say I started a weight loss journey, but I would go out and I would walk every morning. And I just had this one day an epiphany that you got to go. And if you don't go, then don't expect to be alive anymore. And I don't mean alive as in just human, but alive as in you're about to die. You are gonna check out of here. Adios, goodbye.
Like, leave this physical earth.
Physical earth. And I'm like, that's not what I want to do. I mean, yeah, I know there's supposed to be some great after, but I haven't even lived now. So
one thing at a time.
one thing at a time. So it wasn't like imminent danger, but I knew that it wasn't going to be good for me. And I don't want to say it in the fact of, as I said, it wasn't necessarily physical abuse, but I felt that I was going to die of a heart attack, or just my body was just going to give out. I'm not one that shows a lot of stress on the outside. My stress is literally on the inside. And I was literally dying on the inside, which would have come out to the outside, and then there would be no more Candace. And that was not acceptable to me. Mm-hmm. Does that make sense?
That does make sense. I think it's beautiful that you had this like intuition come through and you trusted it. You didn't ignore it, because I think a lot of times people will have those thoughts and those feelings come through, and it is actually intuition or spirit or God or whatever you want to call it guiding you. Yeah. But sometimes it's hard because it doesn't fit the picture of what your life was supposed to be, or the expectations of what your life was supposed to be. So it's hard to actually trust your own intuition. And if you haven't done it consistently, you haven't built up that muscle, it's even harder to hear it, let alone take action on it. So I want to commend you for seeing it, hearing it, and also taking the action, which I'm sure was not an easy thing to do.
It wasn't easy at all. And I don't know if I told you this, but at the same time, not at the time that I made the decision, but a little bit later in that year, my mother got sick and eventually died. So it was a lot. And to think back on that time, and there were times where I was wondering, okay, well, was that feeling of death really informing me of my mother's death? Or, did I get that signal wrong? And that was a hard thing to walk through that year. It was crazy. And Mom was like my best friend, and then I had my crazy ass ex-husband. So it was like this.
I love you. I wish you guys could see Candace right now.
Yeah.
You can feel the energy for sure. I know your mom was your best friend. I didn't realize that those happened around the same time, but I do know how close you were to your mom. And wow, it sounds like that was a big year of change.
My entire world was crushed in less than 6 months. And then to wake up one day and try to figure out, okay, who am I and what am I going to do? Because guess what? You jumped out here and you made this decision. What are you going to do? And again, sometimes I don't have a filter, so tell me to shut up when you're ready. But like I said, that was my 49th birthday. And I was at that point in time on a weight loss journey, and I had to go through the whole thing of, who's going to date you? Who's even going to love you? And then it's like, okay, well, you weren't loved in the first place. So we're going to stop about that one. But, what are you going to do going forward? And wow, this is it. This is all you have left. And at the time, my son was in college, and so he wasn't at home, and I was literally completely alone. And then I would think of, well, even if your ex was here, you would still be alone. So is it worse to really be alone or to be alone and have somebody there? And I would always have to pull up my bootstraps and say, you know what? Suck it up, buttercup, because you are alone. Get with it. But you're not alone with somebody here. There's a big difference. And that's one of the ways that I got through it. One of the ways. But it was not easy. It was not easy. A lot of prayer, a lot of tears, a lot of questioning myself. Definitely a lot of questioning myself. But the one thing that I wouldn't do was go back. Only a dog goes back to his vomit, and I'm not doing that. So that's where I was.
You made the decision and you knew it was the right decision, even though you didn't know. It's almost like you saw to the decision, but you didn't see after that. It was like, I know this needs to happen. And then it happened. And you're like, oh shit. Okay, now what?
Exactly. Exactly. And even to the point where I literally had no friends after that, because they all left. My wonderful religious friends that, helped me pray through everything. They didn't help me pray through my divorce.
Really?
Oh, really? I literally was by myself, because people separated from me. And it had it probably had a lot to do, and this is a disclaimer, because nobody ever said anything that my ex said to them except for one person. And I was made out to be the bad guy. And it was like, you know what? Well, I really don't give a damn, because you can go where he is. And that's not in my life. So, you really find out who your friends are then. So again, when I say I was alone, all the people that I had been around for almost 21 years, they were not there. At the time, I had what I thought was the best friend. And one day, I'm not one that shows a lot of emotion. One day I called her and I was just in my feelings. And she told me a story about something that she had gone through. And again, we had shared a lot of things. But she told me the story about something that she had gone through, and she called her mentor, which I didn't know to this, she had a mentor, and her mentor pretty much told her to stop crying and move on in life. And I kind of like looked at the phone and I was like, did this bee just tell me to stop crying and move on with my life? Great. Click, and I'm done with her. Because the one time that I become vulnerable and that's what you gotta say to me, okay, well, we're done. And I just kind of walked away from that relationship. Now, that may not have been what she meant, but again, I was expecting a little bit more, especially since I'd gone through a lot of things with her and listened to her and helped console her. And that day, all I needed was an ear. And even if there was some advice, it might have been more than to quit crying. So that was hurtful, because I'm like, the one person that I thought would be in my corner just told me to shut up, quit crying, and move on. Okay, so I'm done with that too.
Yeah, and that took a lot of courage since that's not your natural tendency to be vulnerable. It took a lot of courage to reach out and then to not be met with somebody who can actually show up for you is a really challenging situation because then it kind of reinforces the fact that it's not safe to be vulnerable.
Right. That's a great assessment, because that was my takeaway from that is it's not safe to be vulnerable. You have to, put on this persona of being this strong woman. And I hate to hear somebody say that. One day I'm gonna unload on a person that says that. So be warned, if you're listening to this, not tell me I'm a strong woman. Depending on the day, you might be the one.
You better be talking about my muscles.
When I hear you are a strong woman, and I've had to come to this realization, but when I hear that, what I actually hear the person saying is, "Oh, you can take it. Just be walked on. You'll be okay." And that little proverbial pat on the back, suck it up, buttercup, wipe off the dust and continue to take shit. And that's what I hear when I hear somebody say, "Oh, you're a strong woman." And as I said, one day, I hope, whoever it is, it might be the day
Watch out.
we just let loose and let the whole world understand what I feel about that strong woman syndrome, because it's a lie. Every woman has feelings. Every woman has a limit, and just because we're tolerant doesn't necessarily mean that uh, it's okay to just, oh, she'll take it. Oh, she'll handle it. That's not good.
And I think we can extend that to men too, to like all humans. We're all sensitive beings. We all have emotions. And we've been like, it's been shoved down our throat that it's a weakness to express our emotions. And yeah, so what? Maybe I am strong and I can handle this. Doesn't mean I want to, doesn't mean it doesn't hurt, doesn't mean it doesn't make me cry at night and break my heart. Like
right.
There's so many layers to that. Like, yes, you're strong and you're gonna make it through. However, it's okay to have emotions throughout that situation.
You were so right about that. I mean, that adage about women, or just crying, my tears have kept me alive. It's like, do you really, once I realized that tears are your way of releasing, that stress, once I realized that, I was free to just allow my emotions to run. And again, I'm not a heaping mess out in public, but I mean, I think I've been in discussions with you where I just started to cry, and I would say, "Hey, this is just how I'm feeling right now," and it is what it is. I take my hat off to the CDC director. What was it, 2 days ago on national TV, where she cried. I take my hat off to her. I don't think very many professionals, and especially us sticking ass women, even, we're like, "Oh my God, she's crying." No, she's human. And she spoke from her heart. She spoke from her heart. And anybody that says that she shouldn't have done that, you know what? You don't have a heart. You don't have a heart, because you don't understand what she's going through.
And maybe you're not in touch with your own emotions and you're scared of your own emotions and expressing them and what that means.
That is true. So I completely digressed there, but
hey, this is what it's all about. It's all, I just trust with this whole thing that whatever needs to be shared is going to come out.
Yeah.
One thing that I want to kind of circle back around is when your divorce happened and you had these friends that you'd had for 21 years that you were close with, that were like friends with you and your husband, that you prayed with. The fact that potentially your husband said something to them and they just like took that at face value instead of somebody that's been your friend for 2 decades, like not, did they ever reach out to you and say like, "Hey, what's your side of the story?" Or not even what's your side of the story, but how are you doing?
So to this day, no one, even including like family members from his side, no one has ever asked me my side of the story. And I'm not going to say I know for a fact, but I will say that I know that there was a story that was given. And I was never given the opportunity to tell my side of it. And quite frankly, I wasn't going to just go stand on street corners and say, this is why I'm divorcing this asshole.
Take out a commercial spot.
Right. If you want to know, I kind of spoke about my blog, but there was one, I can't remember the title of it, but I have this thing that if you have to ask me if I need something, I'm probably going to tell you, no, I don't need it. Because I feel that if you have to ask, that is just a proverbial way of, oh, let me know if you need something. I mean, your mom just died and I call you up and ask you if you need something. No, your mom just died and Nicole, what's your address? I'm coming to sit with you or something. Because in my opinion, and again, in my opinion, don't write me letters. If you have to ask me what I need, you really don't want to do anything. Because if you want to do something, you would just do it.
But I think sometimes you don't know, because I've been in that position where I'm like, I want to help, I want to contribute, I want to do something, but maybe I don't have the verbiage and I don't have the experience of like, what would be helpful in this situation. So all I can say is, if you need something, let me know. Like now I would say more like kind of an alternative to that. How can I support you? Like, what can I do? And then hearing you say this right now makes me be like, okay, I know Candace just wants action. Like that is the way she is. Like, give her action. Don't ask her what she needs. Take action.
Also in the terms of how you ask it. I mean, I think you know this about me by now, that I'm a people observer. And you can say hello to me, and I know if you really mean hello or what it is that you not necessarily really mean, or I'll put it this way. You were in a position where you had to say hello. I know when a person really wanted to say hi to me, or if they're just doing it because that's what they should do at that time. And that freaking pisses me off. Walk past me. Don't say anything to me. That would make me feel better than you saying hi and you really don't want to say hi. Because that might get you cussed out, depending on what mood I'm in.
Save your energy and mine, right?
Yeah. So when I say that, again, not everybody is in that space, but for example, in this particular instance that we're talking about, a few people would, call and say, is there anything you need? Well, you've known me for 21 freaking years. Our kids have played. We've been to each other's house and you're giving me a freaking call? No, my freaking world just blew up. And there's a lot of things that I need. How about some of that damn prayer that we used to do?
Right.
I'm telling you how I really feel, and to go along with that is, my response was probably, no, I didn't need anything. And it wasn't, explosive like that. But then I don't hear it from you for another 5-6 years. You know what? You really didn't want to know what I needed. You really didn't care.
Yeah.
Just, that's just the space that I'm in. And again, our kids were together. Our husbands hung out together. So really, I was just along for the ride. We really weren't friends. Because I'll flip it around. If this would have happened to anybody else in the group, I would have been there. I would have been at the house. I would have, what can I do? So there's a level of genuineness that I would say that just, if you're not going to be genuine, then just don't be anything at all.
Yeah. You'd rather hear the truth, even if it's not what you want to hear, right, than a story.
Right. Mm-hmm. So true. So true.
Yeah, I resonate with that a lot.
Yeah.
For sure. Just tell me. Don't beat around the bush. Don't lead me on.
I've been walking around
just tell me.
With a booger in my nose and nobody has told me.
Oh, that's the worst.
That's the worst.
It's like, and it's not even a big deal to tell somebody, like, you have a piece of food in your teeth.
And to me, that means that you just don't care. Because if you cared, that you would find some way, maybe wipe your nose a couple of times. You would find some way to signal to that person that, there might be a little issue there.
I think some people are just like, it makes them uncomfortable. Like they're so uncomfortable in their own skin that drawing attention to something like that on you, like if they put themselves in that role, and it would be devastating to them. So they're like, I would rather not touch it.
That's another aspect of it. But you are so forgiving.
I am. I know. I mean,
You
I
always look
know.
for the bright
To a
side.
fault sometimes.
You always look for the bright side.
I try. It's easier for other people than for myself, let's be honest. But
Yeah.
um so your divorce happens and like basically your whole world is completely gone. Your friends, your family. Are you even still living in the same house at this point?
I am still in the same house.
Okay, so that's there. Your son's sort of there, but not really because he's at college. So I would imagine, and completely correct me if I'm wrong, but I would imagine that there was some sort of loss of identity at that point.
I had no identity. I didn't know who I was. I was a daughter, I was a mother, and I was a wife. That was it. I mean, I, I had no identity. I didn't know what I liked to do. I didn't have any hobbies that were my own. I mean, all the cool stuff that I've done with you, that was not me 7 years ago. Not at all. So I literally had to be in an adult body and become a teenager again because I didn't know anything other than um, how to be a wife, a daughter, and a mom. That was it.
How
So
did you start investigating that and discovering what was true for you?
so I want to say that I just tried to figure out things that I liked, but I don't. That's not really what happened. It was one, I had to make a decision to just start doing things by myself, even if it was to the point of going to a movie. Um, I in my profession, I traveled a lot, but I had this issue that I didn't want to travel by myself for fun because I didn't want to be alone. And it's like, fool, you're alone. I mean, I traveled so much at one time that my son, when I would come home, would tell me my hotel room was ready. So I would be on the road and alone. I would eat in restaurants by myself. I've been all over the world for work, but I didn't equate that to you can do this for your life, for fun for you. Because my job, my profession is how me and my family survive. And so I didn't know or didn't understand that you can just do this, just go have some fun on your own. So I had to decide that being alone wasn't all that bad and to just take that step one foot in front of the other and go do something by yourself. I can't remember what I really started doing first. It's probably Zumba, but I would go to Zumba class by myself. Didn't know anybody because I have you been to one of my Zumba classes? Well,
No, I have not.
nobody in Zumba looks like me. So I would go to these classes. I didn't know anybody. And you know how classes are. Eventually you start speaking, hi, so-and-so, or whatever, because you get familiar with being there on Monday at 6 o'clock. But again, that is another lonely feeling because it's like, this proverbial, oh, hi, how are you doing across the room? But there's no contact. And it's like, do these people even want to get to know me? Do I want to get to know these people? So I had to make a decision to just keep going. You know what? Just show up because it's for you. Yoga class. um, what are some of the other things that when I first started riding my bike, I would just go ride my bike by myself. I mean, most of the time, even now, unless it's the weekend, during the week, I just leave my house and go run. Just go by yourself and be okay being by yourself. But I gotta say that being okay being by yourself doesn't mean that you're okay being by yourself. You're just making a decision that I'm not gonna sit here in this spot and be by myself. I'm gonna expand my territory and be by myself.
You're not going to let being alone stop you from doing the things that you want to do.
Right. That's it. So I just had to make that decision that what do you want to do and just go do it. I'll never forget, I went to a salsa class. Now, I am not the best dancer in the world at all. At all. Not a it was kind of a salsa class, but it was this meetup thing. And I go into this place and there are a lot of people there. Again, I know absolutely nobody. It's not like I was meeting a girlfriend there. I just went and it was supposed to be a whole dinner thing. And not the best dancer. So I did the dinner thing. They take you through the salsa dancing and some of the steps. And then I thought about, oh my God, this felt just like being in high school at the dance when nobody picked you to dance with you because nobody picked me to dance with them. And I'm like, what the freaking frack? That's not what I said, but what's going on? So I am standing there and I'm like, okay, what do I do now? Well, you can't salsa by yourself. So I just kind of, stayed with the program. And I don't know why I didn't leave, but I stayed till the end. But I've never gone back.
But you tried it. You tried it and you knew, okay.
And I would have had fun. I would have had fun had I been there with a group of people that I knew. And I don't think it would have even bothered me that nobody asked me to dance because I would have been with a group of people that I knew. And it's not like the first time I wasn't asked to dance, but again, you've gone through the divorce now, and now you're trying to get out here in the world. And that was like a huge rejection. It's like, I just as well stay in the freaking house, just go to work and eat.
Don't even have the opportunity to be rejected.
Right. Because that's not the best feeling in the world, especially when you're already feeling alone. So I would start, is there like some thing on my shoulder or is it written across my head? She's a loner.
Well, and then there's the energy that we're putting off too, like who knows in that moment what energy you were putting off, or maybe everybody knew everybody, or who knows.
But then you start beating yourself up about that because it is what is the energy that I'm putting off? What am I doing? Why is it always me? Na, 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 na. And again, I got to get out of my own head and just eventually say, screw it. You know what? Now today I probably would go back to the thing and then I would go ask somebody to dance. It's like, you know what? Did you dance with me? You don't, well, you know what? Guess what? You're lost my queen and I go on to somebody else.
Totally. I love that. I love that evolution of like, you want to do it, you're just going to do it. You're going to make it happen for yourself, or at least create the opportunity for it to happen for yourself.
Yeah. So I just turned a light on. That's
nice. Yeah, you were starting to like shrink down. I could only see like your nose up. Now I can see your whole face.
Here we go.
Your hair's getting so long.
It actually got cut. I actually got it
really?
cut. Yeah, because it had gotten long. It had gotten kind of long and stringy, kind of witch-like. And I'm like, that is not the look I'm
You're super for. Like in touch with your intuition though. So that's kind of witchy. It works.
Yeah.
Side note, just digressed there. So in experimenting with these different things, did you try a lot of different things and then some things stuck, like yoga and Zumba, and some things like salsa just no thank you?
Kind of, salsa is probably the only thing that didn't stuck. So later on I went and tried ballroom dancing. And what was interesting, that was a whole different experience. But I was in a different, but also my buddy went with me on that one a couple times. My partner in crime went with me on that one, even though I think the first couple ones I went by myself, but it was a whole different space. And I was a different person. Yeah.
What was kind of the evolution that you've seen of yourself from the divorce through now? I know it's years and lots of stuff, but
so what is crazy is I still have a lot of the same fears. because how am I going to say this? I still have a lot of the same fears, but I just continually talk to myself and, I have a saying to myself that I'm just going to do it scared. And I'm just going to do it scared, because you can be scared and sit back and never experience anything, or be scared and it ends up being the time of your life. The only thing that I didn't do that I was scared was zip lining. I watched. I was like, you know what? I'll take pictures. I ain't doing that shit. And when it was all over, I was like, I could have done that, but we were gone by that time.
It's cool. There will be another opportunity.
Yeah, I just uh, deal with your fears and your demons, but I'm just gonna move forward, and just do it scared.
I like that. Do it scared. There's always going to be fear. Like the unknown is scary. That's just kind of a part of our, I think, survival from way back in the day. Like if you don't know something, you should be a little bit fearful of it because it could end your life. I mean, if we want to get down to the base of it.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, it does make sense. And to be able to push into that and tell yourself like, okay, acknowledge I'm scared. That's okay. I'm still going to do it. And then see what happens.
And for anybody that's listening to it, we're talking and we're making it sound not necessarily easy, but we're making it sound like you just have to make the decision. And I just want to say that I'm talking about the past and how I've gotten to where I am. And I've already said that was 7 years ago. It took a lot of time. In fact, we've known each other 3 years.
3 or 4, 3, yeah, something like that.
However long it was. When you first met me, I am nowhere near where. In fact, if you remember the first day that you met me, we were in class with Marie, who was the yoga teacher during the time that I was getting divorced. And she said, I thought you were going to kill yourself. You wrote me a letter. Do you remember that?
I don't remember that.
It was our first
I think because I didn't like, everything was so new, so many things were going on. I didn't like
it was that
absorb
Friday that we had our first get together for the yoga class, and we were introducing ourselves. And Marie, when I introduced myself, she was like, you used to be in my yoga class on Sunday morning. You wrote me a letter. I've been wondering where you were. I thought you killed yourself. And I'm thinking, damn, you thought I killed myself and you never reached out?
Right? You didn't look for my name and like try to give me a call in the system?
But that's just case in point that it is a process, and it takes time. And the other thing that I would say is you never know what a person's going through. I'm always very cognizant of what I say to a person, even though I've been really flippant here. And it's like, yeah, you say I'm a strong woman, you might get cussed out. Yeah, that's just my persona and my joking. But I try to be very cognizant of what you don't know about a person, only because I know what I've been through in my life and how sometimes I've been spoken to, or just something that was said. And in the back of my head, it's like, if they even had a clue as to what I'm going through right now, I wonder if they would say it, or even to the point where I've been thinking, I'm not having the best time here, and whipping your ass would be a really good thing about now. And what you just said to me, if I didn't have all my rockers, right now you would be picking yourself up off the floor. So, that little psycho that's in the back, and it's like, you never know what a person's going through. So I want to greet people with a smile. I want to leave them feeling that they are, that they're a person, that they matter, and that, that they're deserving of just kindness, because we in this world, us humans, we can be cruel as heck, and maybe you don't mean to do it, but again, so sometimes some of the things, it's like, wow, did you even hear what you said or how you came off? Really? So I'm very cognizant of, now you can rub me wrong, but 9 times out of 10, if you rub me wrong, you deserve anything I say to you. I'm a really tolerant person. My son will tell you that when I get to that point and my voice starts to raise, that you should know that's the time to back off. And when I
walk away.
When I get to that point, it's been a long time coming. And again, back to that strong woman, it's just been building and building. And then finally it's like, so just treat people the way that you would want to be treated, because you never know what's going on. You never know what's going on.
Yeah. Yeah. And yeah, like you said, right now we're talking about it like it's super easy. I struggled like up and down, like some days it's easy, some days I question everything. And it's a constant remembering of who we are and what is truly important to us.
You got to first understand who you are, though, before you can remember who you are.
This is true.
Yeah. And that doesn't come easy.
Well, I mean, I think we're born, like, I think that we're born, our soul knows who we are, but I think then all this programming and conditioning of like our parents and society and everything that's pushed on us makes us forget. It becomes like this clouded shadow somewhere like in the distance, that then as adults, at least in my experience, then as adults, it's like, okay, now I need to like get all of that stuff off of me and figure out what is actually true to me and what's not.
I totally agree with you on that one, because a lot of times what we think is our truth is not our truth. It's what we've been bred or taught to know. And that's, just because that was the environment you were in or someone else's truth, it may not necessarily be your truth. And finding your own truth, oh my God, I think it takes a lifetime.
It changes. Like, I feel like it can be like your truth and your purpose can be one thing right now, and then in a day, in a month, in 3 years, it be something different. Like, it evolves and changes.
I totally agree with you on that one. And I think as you evolve, you have to understand that you are evolving. I think the state of metamorphosis never stops. It just continues. I mean, that caterpillar becomes a butterfly, and then you're back into a caterpillar state and then back into a butterfly state. It never stops.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like the hero's journey. It just keeps happening. And it's like every time it happens, you step into a new level of yourself, like a higher version of you, a more grounded version of you, I think, in my experience.
If you allow the process, if you go through the process.
Yes, if you let light, if you allow the flow and don't resist it.
Right.
And that just causes turmoil.
Yeah, that just causes turmoil. I totally agree with you.
I can speak to depression and anxiety from trying to resist the path.
We need to do a whole nother episode on depression. I can definitely talk to depression.
I would love to do that, because I think it's a really important topic to talk about.
Yeah.
Because so many people deal with it, and for some reason it still has this huge taboo with it. Yeah. And there was a long time where I didn't want to talk about it. So I get it. Like I'm just at a point now where if I can use that to help somebody else, if I can use my story to help empower somebody else, even if it's one person, like, yeah, I'm willing to share.
To do that one with you, because there's a whole nother level on depression and trying to understand your own depression and how to get yourself out of it. And working with individuals and trying to find the right individual to work with, because not everybody resonates with you.
So important.
So important.
And that's like in life in general, right? Like not just like for therapists or friends or partners or roommates or business partners, your boss, your coworkers. Like, it makes such a difference, the the person that you're with.
It does, but when you're depressed, it's even more important. Even more important. And please don't take it light that I'm laughing. I'm just kind of reminiscing on some of the things that I've gone through. But that is a whole nother episode. I could talk to you probably an entire day about depression and how to get in it and out of it.
We will let's shelf that for now, but I would love to do that in the future with you for sure.
I'm so willing. I am so willing.
Excellent.
Like you, I want to, I don't feel that I've gone through the experiences that I've gone through in my life not to be able to reach out and help somebody else. I don't know, in most cases, I don't know how it will be helpful, but it's not for me to decide how. It's for me to extend myself and just let it fall where it falls. And if it falls nowhere, oh well. But we know that the universe isn't like that. It's going to fall somewhere.
The person that needs to hear it in the right moment will hear it. For sure.
True.
Your wound is your wisdom. I heard that the other day and I really liked that.
Yeah.
or like your pain is your purpose. But I want to go back to you, like finding yourself after the divorce, and tell me about the first solo trip you took for yourself, not for work, just for pleasure.
So the first solo trip that I took for myself, I actually posted on Facebook the other day that this was my first solo trip, but it was not. I thought about it later. I was like, that was not my first solo trip. Because I don't believe that I was even on Facebook for my first solo trip. I went to Maryville, Mirval Spa in Arizona, Thanksgiving of 2014. So this was literally, my mother died in August. My divorce was final October 30th. And by Thanksgiving, I was on a trip, but I had planned the trip. I don't remember when I had planned the trip, but I had planned the trip. And it was an awesome trip. In fact, someone just asked me about the spa itself the other day, and I have just raving reports about it. And also the other day I was cleaning out a drawer and I wrote myself a letter while I was at that spa. And I read the letter and it was awesome. Some of the things that I said in that letter to myself, that that they were going to mail the letter to me 90 days after I had left. And I talked about the 90-day me, and I don't remember me reading that letter 90 days later, but I kind of chuckled because I was like, this was not me 90 days later, but it's definitely me now, almost 7 years later. So I kind of wrote where I wanted to see myself. But anyway, I planned this vacation, and it was based on somebody saying, you need to go on a vacation. And I'm thinking, okay, well, what would I do? I mean, where would I go? And I don't know if you're old enough. I don't know if you're old enough to remember Dynasty. Do you remember that television?
It was a soap opera or something?
It was a nighttime soap opera.
Okay, I know the name, that's it.
But in Dynasty, there's these rich people, and they always were at spas. And I had never gone to a spa. Hell, I didn't really know what a spa was. I mean, what we call a spa around here is not a spa. So I'm like, let my fingers do the walking through Google, and I'm going to find me a spa. And I'm just going to go be a rich person for however many days. Well, first of all, I didn't think I would be able to afford it. Which is exactly what I told the person that just asked me about it. And it was being a first vacation, I will say it was extremely affordable. Second thing is I did not want to go by myself. And the crazy thing is, if I were to go back there, I wouldn't take anybody with me. And I got there, and amazingly, guess what? Most of the people that were there were single. There was, I think, one other married couple, and we never saw the husband, but the wife, she was just so freaking irritating that the rest of us stopped even hanging around her. And it was, I don't remember how many of us it was, but it was a lot of women and this one guy, and he was like the coolest guy. So I meet these amazing people, and they were literally amazing. I had an awesome time, but the whole time that I was there, I'm with these amazing people. One girl was a book writer. This other one, I don't know what she did, but she lived in New York and she sounded impressive. And I am like small little me and all these amazing people. So that was an issue. But you know what? Again, do it scared, do it where you don't even fit in. Just do it. I literally enjoyed it. I did Out on the Limb. I'm totally afraid of heights. There's a video of me that I climbed up this telephone pole. I don't know how many feet up in the air I am, and I'm supposed to get from one end to the other end, and all this connecting me is a string. And there's this video where I get up there, but I'm afraid to go out on the limb. And the guy down there he's trying to coax me in doing it, saying that if you fall, I'll catch you. And I'm saying, but I don't know you. And then they're like, well, climb back down. Well, I'm too afraid to climb back. So, and even to the point, I start getting logical because I realize that if I get to the other end on this log, and the log is about this big, that I got to go across, I still got to get down. And the only way to get down is to either climb back down or to fall down. Well, I'm too afraid to put my leg, I don't even know how I got up here, but I'm too afraid to put my leg over so I can climb back down. So I tell the guy that I'm just going to stay there for the rest of my life. So there's literally a video of us going back and forth. And so finally I just said, forget it. And I take off running across this log. I maybe get 2 steps and then I fall.
Oh, no. But I'm assuming there was safety equipment, right?
Yeah, there was safety
good.
As I told him, I don't know you from the man on the moon, and all you got is a string in your hand. And how do I know you're going to catch me? And again, doing something I had never done. I'd never climbed up a telephone pole with a harness. I never had on a harness. So I'm like, how does this thing, I get up there and then I'm in my head. I'm like, how is this thing going to even keep me up? So anyway, that was my first vacation. It was full of spa treatments, running on logs, 30 feet up in the air, going on hikes. I had never been on a hike in my life. Arizona, I'm telling you, in November, Arizona, early in the morning, is freaking cold. So, I didn't have the proper clothes, but I had the time of my life. There were moments of loneliness, especially at night when you had to go to your room. But then it was very freeing, and I felt like a big girl. If I can just wrap it up, I felt like a big girl. You know, like the first time you go potty on your own and your mom tells you, oh, you're such a big girl. That trip, I got my potty pants.
It sounds like it was quite expansive.
It
huge growth edge that you pushed into by taking that trip.
So, and like I said, over the years, I've thought of that place, and even if I had a significant other, he wouldn't get a chance to go there with me. That's my place. That's my.
So when are you going back?
I don't quite understand why you would go there as a couple. That's not a couple thing, but whatever.
To each their own.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then can you talk about, like, I know Makeba is one of your great friends, and can you talk about how, so you like started going on these trips by yourself and really pushing into your edge and doing things by yourself, and then how did you like start to create friendships from there?
So this is a crazy story. She and I had a mutual friend. And if you're ever on Facebook, when we do our friendiversary, we both thank this person for being our friend. But our mutual friend had decided to have this movie night. And a whole bunch of women showed up. None of us knew each other. And Miss Drama Queen, if she ever listens to this, I don't care. She's late. I mean, late to the point where the movie has started. And there's a lot of people in this movie theater. And for some reason, when she breezes in, she expected that we all should know that for whatever reason, we knew each other because we knew her. Woo, glory. So we go to the movie. And after the movie, she decides that, oh, let's go over. I think the name of the club was Diablos at the time. It's in Royal Oak, but the name has changed. So we go over to this club. And crazy enough, when we go in, there's some other Zumba people there. So we all just go to this table and start talking to them. And she tells us that she's going to go hang out with her other friends because she's got more friends coming to this club. Now, the club was not part of what she had put together. Okay, so she leaves us. Well, we're sitting at this table, and it's me and Makeba and another young lady. And I don't feel free to say her name, even though I do know her name, but we're sitting at this table and they're about to change to the dance floor. And the table that we're at is the dance floor table. And for $150, we can stay at this table. So me and Makeba look at each other and we're like, I'm not paying $150 for this table. So they tell us that they're going to go find us another table. And they do. And we get this great table. We are like right on the dance floor. And not that we stayed at the table for long because we danced a lot that night. It was one of those nights where I don't even think I ever danced with a guy. It was just, I just danced. So we happen to come back to the table and this friend comes by and says, oh my God, you guys got the best table. I'll be right back. And I looked at her and I said, no, you won't. Go be with your friends. And Makeba looked at me and started laughing, and she's like, I can't believe you just said that. I was thinking it. And I said it and I meant it. Take your ass on over there and be with your friends in the back of the room because we are the bells of the ball right now and you're not welcome. So in our conversation, either that night or another night, I made mention to her that I was going to Jamaica, but it was the following year. And she's like, I would like to go to Jamaica. And I was like, that year someone had invited me, but I backed out of the trip because they were going with a whole bunch of friends. And I just felt I was going to be the fifth wheel. And I only knew that one person. I didn't know the other friends. But I said, I'm going to go the next year and I'm just going to go. And Makeba said, you know what? I'll go with you. And I said, well, you know what? The information comes out in March. When the information comes out, I'll let you know. I don't know when this was, but I know it was summertime because we were outside. I hadn't seen her since. And in March of that year, the information came out and I sent it to her. We didn't talk or anything. And the day that I was going to Jamaica, I get a text message from her that says, I'm on the plane. When do you get to Jamaica? And I'm like, seriously? And she's like, yeah, I told you I was going. So I get to Jamaica. She's like, she beats me there. And we have been friends, partners in crime since. We had such a good time in Jamaica. I don't think we slept for 3 days. And our friendship literally formed the day we got dumped by our mutual friend, but Jamaica just sealed it. And we've been partners in crime ever since and travel buddies ever since.
That's traveling divas, right?
Traveling divas.
Tell us about the traveling divas.
So the traveling divas, actually, the lady who hosts this Jamaica trip. So the Jamaica trip is connected to a race, the Reggae Marathon. And there's a race team called the Reggae Runners that we happen to be a part of because that's why we go to Jamaica, supposedly, is to run this race.
That's your cover anyways, right?
Yeah, so the lady who organizes that also is a travel agent. So since we wanted to do other travel, we got in touch with her, and she has arranged like our Cancun trip, a lot of the trips that we've gone on. And I'll say her name, Miss Lisa, has arranged that trip for us. So when we went to Africa, the trip was arranged by this lady with a whole group of people. And, you know, Lisa knows everybody that's on the trips. So I don't remember where we were in the trip, but she was like, these are my traveling divas. These girls go all over the world and la, 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 la. And we looked at each other, we're like, yes, the TDs. We are the traveling divas. And since then, we've been calling ourselves the traveling divas, the TDs.
And you guys have like YouTube channel, right?
Yeah, we have a YouTube channel, and traveling, it's Travelin, traveling. And divas, you know, we are divas. We don't do anything the proper way. It's DVAS, divas. Traveling divas. And on our YouTube channel, we've done, well, COVID stopped us, but we not only do we travel, but we work out. So we've got a lot of workout sessions on there. And then we've done some things like book reviews, and we've got something really special coming up real soon that I should be posting real soon. We did nothing last year in terms of our YouTube channel, and we're the thing that I gotta post is going to be our first post in a very long time, and we had so much fun doing it. We've come up with a way to social distance and still have our channel.
Nice.
Yeah.
It's been such a time of pivoting, like how do
So,
we still create connection?
you know, in my craziness, I would say that I don't know, was it 4 years into my 7 years is when I met Makeba, and definitely a friend, a friend that I've never had all my life. I've never had that one girl that you just tell everything to, or that one that knows you. We were talking the other day. We pretty much don't both get mad at the same time, which would not be a good thing if we both but we kind of know each other and kind of know how to tap dance around the other one and, you know, coax you into this, or know when to be quiet, and yeah, okay, it'll eventually turn out that way. Or if we don't see eye to eye on something, we just drop it, and yeah, either we eventually get to it or we don't. I mean, we literally plan a trip now by, hey, where you want to go? Okay, and one of us will buy the tickets and be like, well, we're leaving on such and such a day. Oh, really?
I love it.
Okay, well, how much money do I owe you? I got this one. Or yeah, well, you know, when we get there, you can pay for the hotel or this, that, and the other. That's the type of relationship that we have, and it's refreshing, because I really haven't had that. I didn't have it through college, didn't have it through high school, so it's nice to have, you know, that girlfriend that you can call up and pretty much say anything to. And as I tell her, I don't care if you do judge me. Just judge me later. Don't judge me now.
Just not in this moment. Once we hang out, then you can judge me. That's such a beautiful relationship. And like I've been witness to it, and I've hung out with you guys, and yeah, it's really cool that you have such a deep connection, and like you said, where you can just go to her with absolutely anything. It's rare to have that connection.
Family members on both of our sides thought we were gay, and I have nothing against gay, but it's like, why is it that just because we're friends and we do a lot together and neither one of us have a boyfriend, and you know what? We don't have boyfriends not because we're gay, it's because ain't nobody available. But it's like, okay, that's kind of shallow of the world, that because two people have a relationship, you have to change the nature of the relationship. That's crazy.
Yeah. And why do we even have to try to put any sort of label on it? Just because maybe they don't have a friendship that looks like that, then they're like trying to make sense of it. But why do we have to make sense of everything?
And the other thing is if we were, what would it matter?
Yeah, no, it doesn't. It doesn't. Like, you're happy, you're not hurting anybody, cool. Like, you do you, whatever that looks like, you know?
Right.
Yeah. And you guys have gotten, I don't know, was this something you guys started to do together, the biking and the running? Like Candace does races and like, but have you done any triathlons or like duathlons? Because I
So
know you bike and you run.
we did 2 triathlons. So
Okay.
running, I was already running, and when we went to Jamaica, that was the first time we ran together.
Oh
And
yeah, because it's
that's
for race.
where the connection for the running came in. And the crazy thing is 2 years after the first year we went to Jamaica, we're on the bus coming back, going to the airport, and this lady talks about doing a triathlon, and we're like, triathlon? What's a triathlon? And it went from there. I couldn't even swim when I decided to do a triathlon. Again, doing something scared, because my first triathlon, it was a hot mess. But I got through it. There's this beautiful picture of us in the water, and it looks like we're like these swimming goddesses.
Not what you were feeling at all in that moment, huh?
Not at all. What's going on? And it's funny that the guy got the picture, and I know it was the guy that was taking the pictures, but it's funny the way that he got the pictures, and it really makes us look like these world-class swimmers. But what's going on is a conversation, because I get in the water, and as we finally get out in the water, water is coming into my wetsuit. And I'm saying to Makeba, there's water in my wetsuit. And she's like, yeah, what? And I'm like, but there's water in my wetsuit. And she's like, what did you think? That you were going to get wet in your wetsuit? And I'm moving forward going, but there's water in your wetsuit. And she's like, it's supposed to be water in your wetsuit. And she's like, are you going to swim or not? And I'm like, but I'm drowning. So it's so crazy, because the picture looks like you have these world-class swimmers, and I am literally freaking out because I'm getting wet in a wetsuit.
Oh my gosh.
So my swimming was so bad that when I come down and I finally go to get out of this thing, the guy who's taking that wonderful picture, he was like, I didn't think you were going to live through this.
Oh, no.
And I'm like, I didn't think so either.
He's like, but I was going to document the whole thing. Don't worry.
But yeah, there's the joke about there's water in my wetsuit.
I love that. Thank you so much for sharing that story. I don't think I've laughed that hard in a very long time.
And you know what? Only the traveling divas, because
I love it.
Have that conversation in the middle of a river?
You guys need a TV show, like a reality TV show.
Yeah, we should. We should. Some of the stuff that goes on is just hilarious. We laugh at ourselves.
That's the best, when you can laugh at yourself.
But yeah, Nicole, there's water in my wetsuit. Yeah, we come up with these bright ideas and stuff we've never experienced before, and we're gonna go jump out in a lake and go swimming in a wetsuit. What was it, a quarter-mile swim? We'd done the running and the biking, but we had never done all 3 together either.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the story in and of itself.
And you did it again after, which,
yeah.
like that says something, even though it was a kind of crazy, strange, unique, new experience. You're like, yeah, that was good. Let's do it again. I can do it better next time.
The second time, I almost did not finish. So the second time is, by this time, Makeba's a much stronger swimmer. I'm an okay swimmer. I can save my life. And we would say that we're doing this triathlon in Belle Isle, and people would be like, "You're going to be in the Detroit River?" Well, I thought that the look and the concern was because it's notorious for being dirty. Little did I know
the current.
So we pretty much start in the back, but we weren't completely in the back. So we get in the water, and I'm trying to swim, but for every stroke I go forward, I get pushed back too. So I'm literally fighting the water. because again, me and the wetsuit, we had not become one yet, and I didn't understand that you will float. So I am like, okay. So I end up getting pushed somewhere, not even on the path of where I'm supposed to be swimming. And the little guy comes to save me, which pissed me off because he's coming with the little dingling thing. He's like, do I need to save you? And then there's really a guy over to my right who's actually drowning. And I'm like, no, go save him. I got this. So I'm like, I am petrified. I am so afraid. But I'm like, okay, I'm going to do this. Now I am in tears. And I'm also embarrassed because I am nowhere near anybody else. I have swam the wrong way and been pushed by the current. So now I got to get up enough strength to get myself back to where I'm supposed to be. So I get on my back because that's my flagship swim. But when I'm on my back, I have I don't know where I'm going. My direction is I just start swimming. I'm like, blah, blah, blah. So I start swimming. And that New Year's of that year, the previous year, we had gone to New York and we stood in the rain for 11 hours. And right at the end, we were about to leave. And the guy behind us, who's a New Yorker all the way, looks at us and is like, you're not going to be a fucking fairy, are you, and leave? And we, that's like fighting words. And we both looked at him and were like, we ain't no fucking fairies. So we turned around and we stay and we get to see the ball drop and all that other stuff. So now fast forward to September and I'm in the water and I get on my back and I start saying to myself, I am not a fucking fairy. I am not a fucking fairy. And I'm trying to get myself going. I see a buoy and I go around a buoy. And then I remember reading a story from one of the people that I had met on my Africa trip, who I thought was this world-class athlete, and come to find out in a Facebook post where he posts like a memory. The year before, he had done his first triathlon. And he talked about how he actually peed his pants and what have you. But when he got to the point where he was scared, he just flipped on his back and he looked up at the sky and he said, God, it's just going to be me and you, and you're going to get me through this. So after I calmed myself down from the fucking fairy part, I'm like, okay, but then there's God. And I'm thinking about his post. And I'm like, I'm on my back. I'm looking at the sky and I'm like, God, if you're there and I know you're there, this is the best time to help me through this so I can get through this. So I finally swim myself back. I am happy to say I am not the last person out the water. There are people who are doing worse than me. So when I get out, my swim coach is there and he has no filter. He was like, I thought you were a goner. I told my wife that you weren't going to finish this. And, I'm like coming out of the water and this is what this dude is saying to me. And I'm like, well, really? And he said, well, McCabe's gone. I told, because normally we wait for each other through each of the segments. He was like, I told her that if you got out of the water, it would be amazing. So, she's already gone. And I'm like, really? So I go ahead and I finish the race. And I did the bike part, and then I was coming around the last part of the run where I finally caught up to McCabe where I could see her, but she finished the race before me. But that was my second one that I had to talk myself through that. And again, it's called just doing it scared. Just, you know what? I'm just gonna do it. And I didn't have this idea, but I really thought I was gonna die that day. And I'm like, okay, well, I'm just gonna get on my back here and I'm not gonna be a fucking fairy. And then I'm gonna think about what I saw that guy who finished his first triathlon and he just decided to turn over and turn it over to God. And that's exactly what I did. The running part was easy. The biking part was easy. It's that swim that gets me.
Mm-hmm. But you did it. You did it.
I did it. Yeah. And I will do it again. I will do it again.
Heck yeah.
Yeah. And now that, I know the wetsuit, you get wet and it also keeps you buoyant. All the things that I didn't know. Again, I'm
You
50
don't know what you don't
years
know.
old, and I'm just now knowing that a wetsuit keeps you buoyant and that you get wet.
We're always learning.
Always learning.
It's been such a pleasure to have you on today and to hear some of your story. I'm excited to share it with the audience. I have a few questions I like to ask everybody at the very end of the show. So, first one is if you could tell every single person in the world one thing, what would it be?
Oh my goodness. Just one thing?
One thing.
Do it scared.
Do it scared.
Do it scared, yeah.
What is your current life motto or mantra?
My current life motto or mantra, my goodness, we're rolling them all together. You know, you only get one life. And right now it's just living life to its fullest. And in doing so, making sure you do no harm, only good. That would be my current life
Beautiful.
motto and mantra.
And then, how can people connect with you? If people want to connect with you, if they want to follow the Traveling Divas or connect with you personally, how can they go about doing that?
Oh, that's got a million and one ways. So, Dr. Diva is my name. So, Dr. Diva 65 is my Instagram. DRDIVA 65 is my Instagram. And that's a whole nother story how I got that name. And it had nothing to do with the Traveling Divas. Candace Hayden is my Facebook. And as I said, Traveling Divas, TravelindDVAS. That is, excuse me, our Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. Uh, uh, what are they called? IDs or whatever.
Channel?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know.
So all of them are the same thing. Traveling Divas, Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for coming on. People go check her out. And until next time.
Well, thank you, Nicole. It's been a pleasure.
And we'll do our other episode as well in the future.
I promise to behave on that one.
Sure, sure. I would expect nothing other than authentic you. Thank you for listening to this episode number 7 of Wise Human. I am so happy that you're here and you've taken the time to listen. I hope that you got something valuable from this episode. If a quote resonated with you, send it my way. Tag me on Instagram or Facebook. Send me a private message. You can respond wherever you listen to the podcast and let me know a specific quote. I always post later in the week a few quotes from the episode, and they've always been ones that I chose, but I would love to hear from the listeners what speaks with you so I can add some of those in. If you feel called to, go ahead and share the podcast with others so we can spread our reach. Like I said, if you found something valuable in it, chances are somebody else will as well. And again, you can donate if you feel called to do so, making a monthly donation of $2, $5, or $10, which is like the price of one and a half fancy coffees, depending where you live, I suppose. And that can be done through Anchor FM. The link will be in the description of this podcast. And I just can't wait till next time. I hope you have a beautiful day, night, wherever you are. Until next time.